Hi guys.
Hello, Amber.
Hello,
In the
Ron
UK.
Friedman in America, in California, I believe.
It is absolutely.
I thought so. Yeah, a lot of people I told you from California. I've interviewed people from
I
America.
didn't hear you.
I've interviewed people from all over the world: America, UK, Australia, and even Japan. I had someone from Japan on once. It was quite
Oh,
fun.
that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have an international following.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad as well. I remember I looked on the analytics for my channel, my YouTube channel, and it said Peru was one of the locations. And another one was Antarctica. I was like, I don't know, there's really people living there. It's a bit too cold, isn't it? um, so anyway, to you at home, this is pre-recorded, by the way. This isn't live or anything. So it's just come as you please. This isn't live, no pressure. Everyone who is watching this right now, this is Ron Friedman. You may know him as a writer. He has been a writer for The Andy Griffith Show, The Good Guys, Bewitched, Gilligan's Island, All in the Family, The Odd Couple, Happy Days, That's My Mama, Starsky and Hutch, Zorro, and many more live action stuff. He has also written for cartoons like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Tasmania, and also the films for G.I. Joe and Transformers. And you created the cartoon for G.I. Joe and developed Transformers for television. And you worked on the Marvel Action Hour with Stan Lee as well. So you have
Yes.
had quite a career.
Well, I actually created G.I. Joe for television, and the
Yeah.
same with the Transformers.
Yeah.
So it's not just, was never writing episodes for syndication.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm proud of those, particularly Transformers, because it has transformed continuously. And it was great when they resurrected the original Transformers, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And they played it in something like 700 theaters across the United States, sold out performances. They had to increase the showings.
Yeah.
After that many years, it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it is indeed. I agree wholeheartedly. I believe, yeah, Phantom Events did a 35th anniversary screening of the 1986 film last September, I believe. Unfortunately, we didn't get it in England. Sad we didn't, to be fair, because it was quite big over here. But you went to a big kind of like a screening of it, I think. Wait, did you
Yes.
go? You went, yeah, and there was all the voice actors there, and Joe and Flint were there. For those of you wondering, Flint Dilley and Joe Troutman. Flint worked on the original G1 Transformers cartoon. Joe has helped produce these latest stop motion shorts that you can find on YouTube, and they were released alongside the Phantom Events, Fathom Events screening of the TF movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's Fathom or is it Phantom Events? Because there's another. It's Fathom because there's a company in the UK called Phantom Events who are a publisher. So Fathom, yeah, okay, right, yeah. So what was it like to be at that event? May I ask?
It was exciting and surprising. Surprising in this regard. Stan Lee used to force me to accompany him to Comic-Con in San Diego.
Oh, nice one.
I loved Stan. He wanted company. He wanted a human being to talk to because he'd be besieged from the minute he'd arrived. So I loved Stan. I went a couple times. The second or third time, I forget which, a 55-year-old man dressed like Wolverine and drunk came over to the table, a great admirer of Stan, and wouldn't leave.
Ooh.
Finally, Stan called security. Ooh. And I said to him, no more. I'm not coming back to this den of dingbats. And I didn't. And then I wrote my book, I Killed Optimus Prime, So Sue Me. And I thought I'd like to have a venue to sell it in. So I accepted for the first time an invitation to a Transformer Con in Burbank. And I was a rock star, which astonished me. And I was deeply touched because 3 generations, or maybe a little more, they'd come to my table and one of them would say the following: I was 6 years old and mommy took me to see Transformers, the movie, and you killed Optimus Prime. Could you please sign my underwear? And I did.
I always thought it was Flint Dilley who killed Optimus Prime.
Also, at that first go, a female lieutenant colonel in the Army came to my table
Uh-huh.
And she said, I'd like to buy 8 books and have 8 photographs taken and get your autograph 8 times for my fellow officers. We are all
Wow.
big fans. I said, I can't possibly charge because you're doing important work and you're putting your life on the line. She said, no, we all insist that you take the money.
Oh.
And I did. And I signed each of those books and idiosyncratically. I got the name of the officer. I got a little bit about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so touched that the Transformers had meant so much to so many people.
Yeah.
But always intelligent people. Some of them were in the, is that a weirdo class? Others were in, that's a nerd. Others were in, he looks dangerous. But none of them were. They were all highly intelligent, which is why when I first gave this speech at the first Comic-Con, I got a standing ovation. And I'll do the very short beginning, which is, we are all Transformers. When we're small and we see injustice and we see someone hurt or we're hurt and we want to fix it, we want to make it right because that's not fair and it isn't kind and it isn't good. But we're kids. Who listens to kids? We're small, so no one wants to hear our voice, particularly about something that might be important. So we transform. We transform from kids with no hold on the hammer of reality into adults who can do something about it. And we do. And we keep trying. And that's the value of transforming, which is the key to life. If you don't continuously transform, you stultify, you freeze and die. So those that are committed to Transformers have bought into this idea of continuity of purpose, of a sense of justice that cannot be denied, and a desire to participate in the creation and maintenance of justice by whatever means we can bring. And I've seen that again and again and again. And I've seen people like some of my fraternity brothers who were bigger nerds than I was, who at their ages as presidents of corporations, as deans of universities, they still press for the universal good. They still do that. And that's why in the movie, the Transformers, the movie, I transformed Megatron because death was not the end. The life after death is a transformation. And ideas that we possess in life transform after we're gone. And they can and do change the world because people like you see the value and virtue in goodness, in justice, in compassion, and you live that life. And there's been a complete absence and trashing of compassion. And what's been happening in the United States makes me wonder if I'm going to have to join Hitler Youth to survive, because I'm deeply offended and furious at what Donald Trump almost did. The idea of rolling back the progress clock, that's never been part of the Marvel universe, never been part of the Transformers universe, never. When you gain rights, you don't watch them vanish because someone paints them dark or someone destroys them, destroys your right to possess your rights. That has galvanized me, and that's one of the reasons I want to write the new film, Revenge, the Return of Unicron. So I can continue to get that message across to maybe impressionable people who will recognize that's their story. So anyway, now you know everything about me but my hat size, which is too big.
Yay, Ron!
Thank you.
Wow, that was a
You
lovely
meant
speech.
every word. And I take the risk of some being offended because of their political posture. But what I said has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with fairness, with compassion, with justice. That has no party label. And congratulations on the absence soon, I hope, of Boris Johnson.
He's already gone.
Oh, good. I know he's been signed with Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies as a new tune.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I was on holiday and it came up in the news that he'd resigned. I was like, I didn't see that coming.
Will you miss him?
I'm not a political person. I don't take sides.
Well, anyway,
All I
don't
will
mean to
say,
get political because nothing about the transfer. Yes.
me for prime minister. Me for prime minister. I will make all voice actors come to UK conventions, and all great people from the TF fandom will always come to TF Nation, and we'll always have fun. There will be no work days, just fun days.
I agree, that's on the way. And I have a real fondness for England for a lot of reasons.
Yay!
Yes, one is our shared heritage. Another is the compassion that England has shown repeatedly over the centuries, much more so in the end of the 20th and the 21st, to enable people in trouble to find refuge there, which is my father's story. My father escaped from Russian Poland and a potential death sentence to England, where he learned to become a shirt maker in London.
Wow.
Yep. And then he had the courage to emigrate again to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But England gave him sanctuary and an opportunity to live, as it has too many. And that's what America has been doing, and been doing it much more openly and much more defiantly of status quo people who believe there can be an America first. That was the cry of the fascists in England, England first.
Mm-hmm.
And that cry was invented by Hitler's minister of propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. It was America first, which meant you don't want to get entangled in what's going on in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to mess with what Hitler's doing. You want to let Europe take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, stay out of it to give power to the fascists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, forgive me.
It's okay.
No.
I just don't have a lot of knowledge about war and stuff like that. Like
Well,
politics.
you'll acquire it because that's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You do not sit idly and just pretend to know. When something interests you, you'll pursue it.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, in the future when I get the grasp of things. I mean, I'm only 18 at the moment.
I'm absolutely confident you will.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it.
You will continue to be enlightened.
Thank you.
I look at you and I say, that's an enlightened person.
Oh, thank you, Ron. That means a lot.
Well, I'm old enough to know the difference between an enlightened person and an asshole. I really get the difference.
Yeah, I do too. I know. Yeah, I know if you, well, when I get an injection, I always say, well, that's not the first prick I've had.
Good.
I've had more pricks in my life. Yeah. Ron, were you the one who created the character Arcee for Transformers?
Yes. I wanted to have a female Autobot.
Uh-huh.
I was told Autobots don't have a gender.
Uh-huh.
I said, well, what happens to all the little girls that love robots and sci-fi? They said, little girls don't. I said, my daughter loves it. She's a little girl.
Oh, wow.
That's your buying public.
You did it for
That
your
is your
daughter.
audience. It's not limited to guys who are 6'10" and weigh 300 pounds and like to eat AA batteries for lunch. So they can sound like robots. I said, you're appealing to everyone because of the universality of the following: the universality of aspiration and compassion, the universality of the desire of those small and impotent to correct the balance books, to make it right for them and for anybody who's been discriminated against or mistreated, and also for everyone who is sentient and thinking and wants to see themselves portrayed on the screen. I said, you already recognize that with Roadblock and other characters who are people of color? I said, well, a woman, a female, may be a person of color or not, may be a person of different sexual orientation, but the fact is, she's a female. Whatever the orientation is, she should not be cut out of the mix. They said, we'll think about it. And finally, they did it. And I was proud of that. They didn't allow me to give her more to do, but I was glad I was able to give her something.
And we got the wonderful Susan Blue as Arcee's voice actress.
Absolutely. And I get reaction to having created Arcee. Little girls who are 3 generations away from when the movie came out, they say, we love Arcee. Here's the other thing that binds audiences and people to the Transformers. When I tell you this, I'll be telling you the secret of writing.
Okay.
And the answer is this: family. Family, even if you've never had one, is something that we all reach out to because we don't want to be alone. And we want to understand what we're doing here, not just in this spot, but as breathing people. Why are we here? What are we doing here? This is what ancient peoples did. They started to think once they had fire and shelter and a sense of how to feed themselves is, what do we do? We're in danger. Things making noise out there in the night, they can eat us.
Yeah.
What we eat may kill us, may poison us. We don't know when there's going to be an earthquake and it'll swallow us up. We don't know when a comet might hit us and kill us from the sky. What can we do? So what we as human beings did is we created the stories that would help us deal with each day. Because each day, whether you know it consciously or not, everyone gets up and makes a deal with the universe, which is, this isn't the day the comet's going to get me. This isn't the day some dumbbell with a lethal weapon is going to blow me away while I'm getting a hot dog. This isn't the day that I'm going to drown. This isn't that day. This is my day. I'm okay. Have you ever done that consciously?
Sometimes.
No.
Oh,
But have you ever thought that? Because early human beings certainly did. So what they did is they created a family because they understood a family structure. Everybody understands Big Daddy, even if Big Daddy is Big Mommy. Everybody understands the uncle who's crazy. He flashes school buses. We all understand a crazy relative. We all understand Mommy and Daddy. We all understand the aunt who's really nicer to us than our mom. We all get that. So the gods and goddesses were created as a family. And each family had Big Daddy, Zeus in Greek, Jupiter in Roman, Hera in Greek, Juno in Rome, and so on. So the Transformers is a family. And when I was rewriting the first 60 episodes, I made sure to create and use that family idea because that's bonding. So to write a story that everybody cares about, you have to remember what people have to care about. Family, because that defines us in the universe. Once you understand that, you can write. You can write stories that everyone will understand. Think of sagas. Does everybody understand the stories and the relationships in Lord of the Rings? Yeah, because there's the good family and there's the bad family. Gandalf, Bilbo, Sam, good family, the orcs, and they're like the bad family. Does everybody understand the good and bad family in Harry Potter? Of
I don't. I've
course.
never seen Harry Potter.
Okay. We understand. And that's true of any successful story, book, novel, or feature film. There's a semblance of family, and a search for family has fueled so many adventures. Star Wars. Luke Cage is looking for his father, but first he's looking to see who killed his aunt and uncle. Search. We are all searching. That's why I love Transformers fans. They are consciously searching. G.I. Joe fans, not quite the same way, because G.I. Joe was designed for a different purpose.
Yeah.
But there are families in G.I. Joe, and everybody knows the Cobra Commander and Destro are Shakespearean swine. And in every bad family, everybody in that family works against each other. They will betray each other in a heartbeat. Every good family, everyone supports every other family member. That goes without saying. So I've now told you the secret of communicating at a level that speaks to everyone. And that's what I've always tried to do throughout my career, which is now 60 years.
Amazing, Ron.
It is. And I was an architect for 11 years before that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes.
Wow, that's such a career change. Interesting.
It was. I really wanted to write or act or sing and dance or paint and draw. But my dad died when I was 11 and my brother was 9.
I'm sorry.
And we were really poor. My mother had been a concert pianist and an opera singer. But in 1945 in Pittsburgh, what does she do when my dad dies?
She did.
So what she did is she became a piano teacher and a voice teacher, which didn't pay that well. So my brother and I were always hungry and always working. And so when it came time to go to college, I looked for the scholarship I could afford to take. I couldn't afford to take a lot of them. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, I couldn't afford to go because they didn't provide a dorm fee or food and travel. So I picked Carnegie Tech, a great school. And I picked architecture because I was told it's a wedding between science and art. It was a shotgun wedding, which means they had to get married because nobody else will have them. And it was a tough career, but I was proud of it. Anyway, you now know enough about me to blackmail me. But don't ask for too much.
I won't.
I'm not giving up the cows.
I won't, I promise.
Thank you, Amber.
You're welcome. Ron, so
Yes.
have you seen the recent stop motion stuff that Flint and Joe have done? For
Yes, I
Hammer?
was very impressed.
Lovely. Wow.
Yeah, I'm amazed they got such enormous action. So the organization that did that stop motion was also, I'm sure, auditioning to do a larger work. And what they did was really superior.
Indeed. Yeah.
I was amazed.
I'm impressed too. Yeah. And it's a little company, I
Because-
think in Asia, I think, did the animation on it.
Well, they're really gifted and they were also working hard, I'm sure.
Indeed.
And I, you know, at my age, I've seen a lot of animation. And the early animation was amazing just because those drawings moved. And of course, Walt Disney, who was brilliant, understood that just watching moving drawings would eventually get the audience to say, hey, those are just pictures. So how did he overcome that? Music. When the music is there and the images move in time with the music, you don't have time as a viewer to say, oh, wait a minute, that's just a crappy drawing. And a lot of the drawings were crappy because nobody was skillful enough to give the tunes idiosyncratic motion so that you could see and you'd say, that's Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Or you look and say, that's Spider-Man. Or you look and you say, wait, I know who that is. That's SpongeBob. Or wait, that's Wile E. Coyote. Oh, that's the Roadrunner. That's Bugs Bunny. So the characters move like human beings do, which is idiosyncratically. That took a while to get there. And Disney was the first to recognize it. And I remember as a kid looking at cartoons, most of them in black and white, because Technicolor cost a lot of money. And most cartoons were maybe 3 to 7 minutes long, usually 2 or 3 to 5, and occasionally 7. And mostly they were animated to a hit song of the era, or a familiar song, or a symphony
I didn't
that
know
was
that.
familiar. You remember that?
I didn't know that.
No. Well, now that you know, maybe look it up sometimes,
Of course
and
I
you'll be
will.
astonished at how little is happening. Animators called what they showed a series of gags, which was a series of physical jokes, because you couldn't do verbal jokes, physical jokes. Somebody gets hit and falls. That was massively important in early animation. Somebody getting hit, shot, the arrow go all the way through and bounce back, things like that. And it was the days of what was called squash and stretch animation. Squash and stretch is a character. Bugs Bunny sees somebody up ahead. It's a carrot truck. And his eyes move out, stretch. Then as his legs are turning, he moves out. He stretches out. And then the squashed legs catch up with him. That was early animation.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm picturing it in my head.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I showed Stan Lee the first morph process. Are you familiar with morph? Which is making one image change into the other
Yeah.
seamlessly,
Yes.
which is now everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see somebody do it at a magazine store, you won't go, oh, you'll just say, look, she just morphed.
Yeah.
She was an old lady, and now she's a Coca-Cola machine. What the hell?
Yeah.
So I showed him the first morph process that went
Wow.
commercial.
Oh,
And
that's
it showed a Honda that had a lot of racing stickers on the car. And then the car started, and as it drove away, the racing stickers flew off the car. It cost $150,000 because there were 15 different passes to get it to do that.
Surely it
Now-
wouldn't cost that much today.
Oh, God, no. Certainly not.
Mm.
You can do it. There's all kind of stuff online that enables you to do that.
Yeah, with all the technology and stuff.
You can
that's
do it
around
on
today.
TikTok, or you can do it on anything. If you know where the software is, you pick it up off YouTube or somewhere on the net. But then, horrendously expensive.
Yeah, like Photoshop or Sony Vegas or Final Cut X, like video editing softwares and stuff like that.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit of cartoon history I think is valuable.
Yeah.
I've been teaching screenwriting now for 25 years. I did 18 years at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, and I'm in my 17th year doing the same at Chapman University School of Film and Television.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this. Walt Disney was a visionary. He really was. And he always tried to go where his imagination took him. So in 1937, when the Depression still was laying heavily on the country, he wanted to build an animation building. His father, who was always a guy who said no, said, "Are you kidding? There's a depression going on. If you flop, you're stuck with this expensive building. But St. John's Hospital is right across the street. So design the building as if it were a hospital, with every floor a nurse's station. So there'd be like 3 nurses' stations on each floor, and you'd have your offices in there that could be converted into patient rooms, And at the start of these three spaces, you would have where the head nurse's station would be. So he did that. Luckily, he did not need to sell it to St. John's Hospital. But when he said to his father, I want to do a full-length animation career, the father said, are you out of your mind? Animation is for kids, little kids. It can't take more than a couple minutes or they'll get bored and they'll cry and they won't want to see it again. And Walt said, that's why I have to do a story that will appeal and has always appealed to an entire family. That's why I'm going to do Snow White. His dad said, which Snow White? There may be 40 Snow Whites. Several cultures have the same kind of story. And in a lot of them, Snow White dies. That's what the story is about. Don't eat an apple when a stranger gives you food. That's the moral.
Yeah.
Walt says, I'm going to do it. And so he did. But he figured out he would have to tell stories quickly and use music to reinforce the emotion of the story. And in fact, give each important character their own musical theme song. Have you seen Snow White?
I haven't seen Snow White. I really want, and they need to watch it. I've seen like Peter Pan. I've seen
Inglourious Bastards, the Quentin Tarantino film.
Nope.
Yes, that you've seen that too, because that's very much today.
Okay.
Snow White is still very much today.
Yeah.
But Quentin Tarantino, the great director who wrote and did Inglourious Bastards, learned from Walt Disney, because the opening sequence of Snow White has been exactly parroted in the opening sequence of Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, wow.
I'll give you a for instance, and then hopefully you'll look at both of them and email me and I'll talk to you after you've seen it.
Yeah. I'll try my
The
best.
opening sequence of Snow White. Remember, these are Depression people. It's difficult to get the money up to see the movie.
Yeah.
Let alone a full-length cartoon. So the kids wanted to go. The families were saying, I hope to God I'm not going to be bored with these strange creatures moving around to music. So it opens with a wonderful orchestral fanfare and kind of like the beginning of a symphony. And then what appears on the screen is a beautiful book bound in white leather.
Yeah.
And it says Snow White. And then the book opens. And as you read, if you can read, the beautiful illuminated manuscript that tells the story that Snow White is treated badly by her mother, the queen, and is forced to work as a serving girl, you then come into the castle of the evil queen on a hill with a kind of note that says, this is bad, this is evil. That one picture says something to everyone that there's no way of explaining why, but the vision of a castle, a building on a hill, says death to most people in most cultures. It just does. Who knows why? You can guess. You can say in medieval villages, the castle on the hill held the prince or the duke or the noble who could end your life if he felt like it. You had no rights. This was the source of life or death. Maybe that was it. But it does work. And then immediately from there, it goes into the palace of the evil queen, who sweeps up in her majestic robes before a mirror. And she says to the mirror, magic mirror on the wall, who is fairest? One of all And then a face appears in the mirror. He says, great is their beauty, my queen, but alas, I see one fairer than thee. And she says, who is it? And he says, skin white as snow, hair black as night. And the queen says, Snow White. And you see in her eyes nothing but evil. The next scene is Snow White in rags, sweeping the stairs of the castle and singing to pigeons that come in.
Mhm.
And she sings, want to know a secret? And the pigeons go, whoop, 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 whoop. Promise not to tell. Whoop, 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 whoop. You are standing by a wishing well.
Mhm.
Make a wish, and da-da-da. And then she sings into the well. I'm wishing, and the well goes, I'm wishing for the one I love, for the one I love, to find me today. Da-da-da, da-da-da, la-da-da-da-da. And then you see a prince ride up on a white horse, and he hears her singing. Then we go back to her singing, will find me today. And the prince says, today. And there he is. Quentin Tarantino does much the same thing.
Mhm.
Only his fairy tale begins with the symphonic music,
Mhm.
and then this appears on the screen. Once upon a time, which is how Snow White begins. Once upon a time in Nazi occupied France. Once upon a time says, this isn't any time you know. You may think you know it, but this is my once upon a time and the story I'm going to tell you in that once upon a time. So the minute that's on the screen in Snow White and in Inglourious Bastards, the audience knows this is not the France in Nazi occupation that I think I know. This is a different one. This is Once Upon a Time. So I hope I haven't bored you or your watchers or listeners, but I recommend for those that don't know, by all means, look at Snow White. If you haven't seen it, it will astonish you because it's just as fresh and moving and amazing as it was when it first came out, and touching and beautiful. And then look at Quentin Tarantino's, which takes like 3 times as long to do what Walt Disney and Snow White did, because it's human beings, not animation. But it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And in fact, the opening sequence begins not with a castle on a hill, but with a farmhouse on a hill. Because that edifice, the structure on the hill, instinctively says death. I don't know why. But I used to give and still give my classes the following. I'm going to give you 4 questions to answer. The first is describe a place. The next is describe a body of water. The next is describe a receptacle, a container. And the last is describe an edifice, a building, a structure. And they do. They're all different. But when I tell them what it means, when I tell them the structure, the edifice, the building means death, they all say, I had chills. Hair stood up on the back of my neck when I did that, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot we don't know about who we are and why we're the way we are.
Yeah.
But as screenwriters and as storytellers, we need to be aware of that material being there, and that artists always manage to find it and bring it out and show it to us so we see it for the first time, as if for the first time. That's why impressionable kids are open. You have to remain open as a human being through life so you can appreciate what's happening, so you can understand how it affects you, so you can use it to inspire yourself. And Picasso Do you know who Pablo Picasso was?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I congratulate you. A lot of people
Thank
don't.
you.
Picasso said, art is a lie that enables us to see the truth. And art is always news. It is, if you think about it. How many times have you seen the Mona Lisa on television or in the newspapers or in a magazine?
Never.
But if you actually go to France and you go to the Louvre and you see Mona Lisa, you go, Jesus Christ, that's the Mona Lisa. It's like you've never seen it before. And if you think about movies that you love, when you look at it, it's like, I've never seen this story before, even though it's a story about a family. It's the story about a member of the family you can identify with who's searching for happiness or searching for love or searching for the person that's been missing from her life.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, forgive me, but I hope to be able to impart some useful information.
Yeah, you definitely have done.
Yeah, because I don't like to give inert information.
Mm-hmm.
Dates, times, you can look it up on the net. If you can look it up on the net, you might find surprising information. But if you see something that astonishes you and you've seen it before, but not there, you know you're looking at art. You're looking at art.
Yeah, definitely.
Who are some of your favorite artists? Do you have any?
I like Lichtenstein. It's more modern. He's the guy who does all the
No,
pop
I
art
like
stuff.
Lichtenstein very much. But he made you see the world completely differently.
Yeah.
By using what? Familiar pictures, familiar
art.
objects.
Yeah.
But he maybe blew them up quite large so you could see the dots that made the color.
Yeah.
It was still what you've seen. A sculptor, Klaus Oldenburg, who just died. Do you know who that was? Famous for making a giant penknife, for making a giant ice bag, for making a giant pencil, for making a giant sculpture out of French fries and a McDonald's bag. Huge. Why? To remind you what you see and take for granted.
Mm.
And now he did, that's pop art, to remind viewers what you've been taking for granted and ignoring, you got to look at again. I got to make you see it like you never saw this before, because you didn't. And yet you know it, but you don't know that form of it. It's wonderful. It's exciting. There was an artist whose work I don't find intriguing, named Franz Klein in the 50s, who patented, copywrote a particular shade of blue. And it was called Klein Blue number 5, which is ridiculous.
What will happen to 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Well, you don't think of a color as being copywritten. If you use the color, you get sued.
Yeah.
But it's called, you take this for granted, you can't anymore. I've got my blue.
Yeah.
Here's what he did with it. He smeared it on a huge canvas on the floor and then got a nude model and dragged her through it by her hair. And whatever came out of it, that was his painting.
Great.
And yes, he did dozens of them. But it's the whole idea of something you take for granted. And now you have to, how did that get there? If you know how it got there, you say, is this bullshit? It is, but it's also kind of exciting because I never thought of that. It made me see this with different eyes. And I like that. I like to be awakened from the stupor of the familiar. Don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a friend who was a very successful television writer and a big art fan. So he liked a lot of the people who did schmear stuff like Klein. I thought their work was not great. He loved it. So he's in Los Angeles. He calls Yves Klein in Paris. And he says, Maestro, we're coming to Paris. I have $5,000 to give you if you will give me and my wife an art experience. Klein said, come to Paris, go to this shop and buy $5,000 worth of gold leaf. Then meet me at this bank of the Pont Neuf at 5 a.m. and bring 3 photographers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The guy shows up with his wife, 5 a.m., with a box filled with gold leaf. 3 photographers. Yves Klein is there. He says, give me the box. He gives him the box. He opens it. He takes out 1 sheet of gold leaf, closes the box. And then he says, get the photographers ready. And he holds up the gold leaf and he lights it. And while it's burning, he drops it in the Seine. And the couple went, amazing. And I have pictures of it in sequence, a triptych. Here it is, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he said, watch this, photographers. And he made of this, and he threw the box of gold leaf in the Seine. $4,900 worth. And I said to my friends, he switched the box. He had another box. He had a box full of cut up newspaper. He kept the gold leaf. No, he wouldn't do that. Turns out he did that. But they said, what an experience. And it was. It was for me too. I'll always think of my friend as a giant asshole, but to look at those triptychs was amazing. Anyway.
What a wonderful story, Ron.
If I can make you think, and I've given you anything to think about, and I've helped fill this time with what I hope is entertaining and informative, I'm happy. I've done my job.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think there's so much more to talk about that we should actually do a part 2. There's so much more to talk about. Would you be down for another interview?
Okay. Let me know at the end of August.
We haven't even gotten started yet. We've got another part. We're going to do a part 2. I tell you
I got
now.
a lot of parts so far.
Yeah. Expect it by September. I promise you. If it doesn't come, that's a promise broken. Okay, I got to say that.
I accept the promise.
Of course, Ron. Do you have a website?
No, I have to put one together. And
Okay.
the reason I never did is anytime I get online, I get unbelievable people. That's why I try to stay off YouTube.
That's
But
fair.
I can't anymore because that's the way a lot of people choose to contact me. YouTube, Messenger,
Yeah.
and they are customers in many cases and buy my books. And many have bought my Christmas album, Christmas Songs for Jewish People.
Mm-hmm.
You just nodded like that's ordinary. Oh, well. Anyway, let me know and I'll be there.
I will do. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching part 1 of my Ron Friedman interview. There will be a part 2. I promise that. I guarantee you that. And we'll have more to talk about. We've not even covered half of the stuff Ron has done. I tell you that now.
I thank you. My mother thanks you. My father thanks you. My wife and kids thank you. And the IRS, which is the Internal Revenue, they love you.
Oh, thank you, Ron. To your home, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay happy, be kind to yourself, and thank you for watching. Bye. And
Bye-bye.
cut.